Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Big Four podcast. It's been a while, but we're ready to go. We're amped up for whatever season there happens to be. So let's get right into things. The Big Ten, 5 days after declaring that they would have a 10-game season, a conference-only season, came out and canceled the season. And there was some backlash, and there still is backlash, and it's been going on for months. 8 Nebraska parents are suing. The AG of Nebraska is basically saying that the Big Ten's not a nonprofit and they have to pay taxes in the state of Nebraska now or something. So it's just a huge PR nightmare for the Big Ten. What do you guys think about the decision for the Big Ten right now, with hindsight?
It's hindsight's 2020, but I don't really fully understand the decision in making it. What did you say was 5 days after?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't understand making a decision up quick. I think they should have maybe waited a couple weeks, but I don't see why they can't play football. I mean, Ohio State has all their kids back, all their students back on campus. So if you can do that, I don't understand why you can't just play a football game. It's not like these football players interact with many people on campus anyway during the season outside the football game. But and it's not like these Big Ten schools can't afford adequate testing. But that's what it is, I guess.
Yeah, the one thing hindsight's 2020. But one thing I don't understand is why, and this is the Pac-12 too. Why didn't all 5 of the power conferences come together and make a decision? Because now the Big Ten and the Pac-12 look terrible, especially with the season starting this week. The ACC games have gone smoothly. The Big 12
the SEC and ACC were playing no matter what. So it didn't really matter if they got together or not.
Well, at least with the Big 12, they're playing. They're playing out of conference teams. Those have gone smoothly. Not for the Big 12 teams, but the games have gone smoothly. They've got to have adequate testing. I would think if these other schools can have adequate testing, there's no reason why these, like Luke said, these Big Ten schools can't. You're telling me Michigan, Ohio State can't afford testing for the football teams or any of their fall sports teams? But I hope apparently they're re-voting on it in the next 72 hours. I doubt anything will happen, but I hope.
No, they're not going to change their mind. So they're going to admit that if they change their mind, it means they admit they screwed it up.
Yeah, I think you're right, but they are going to vote on it again. Hopefully they come to a different decision, but they just look terrible right now.
Yeah, it was a misinformed decision. It was a decision they thought that Kevin Warren, I don't know if it was his decision, but I think they thought as a conference that they were going to lead other conferences into this. How naive they were for thinking that. That's just the stupidest thing I ever heard. Okay, there could be a freaking nuclear disaster and the SEC would still be playing. It doesn't even matter. It's bad for recruiting. It's bad for the conference overall. And it just looks terrible when you have high school, almost every state in the Big Ten footprint is playing high school football, and you're not playing college football. It's a horrible look, including the state of Michigan, who their governor's been on the side of do not play the entire time. They've switched their decision. They're playing high school football. There's absolutely no reason why the Big Ten should not be playing. If they have adequate enough testing for high school, they have enough testing for the Big Ten. I mean, give me a freaking break.
It looks even worse, too, when there are teams in states that the Big Ten's in are like having Iowa State play, Pitt playing. You don't have Penn State and Iowa playing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you were talking about kids on campus. They have enough testing to bring all the kids back on campus, but they can't test the football players for football schedule.
Notre Dame's playing Indiana, and Purdue can't play, but Notre Dame can play.
Yeah, it's a complete and utter joke, and they should be ashamed of themselves, and every single one of them should step down right now. Get a new administration in there. Get Jim Delaney back. I don't care who you get. No freaking way Jim Delaney's canceling this season. He understands the wide-reaching consequences of canceling a Big Ten season. Now, they say they want to bring it back for Thanksgiving, and that's like the earliest date they say, unless this vote goes through. but that's not going to help at all. I mean, it's kind of like
The damage has been done.
it's putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. It's not going to do enough for the conference. All right, speaking of that vote, what do you guys think about it? Do you think anything will change?
No.
No.
Yeah, well, if they were...
The only schools that voted for it to play was Ohio State, Nebraska, and Penn State or something like that.
Iowa.
In Iowa, yeah. So you're not going to... Penn State, you might add, but, I mean, the Michigan schools are going to vote together, and they're going to vote no. That the Indiana schools are probably going to vote together. I mean, I just don't see where you can get all the other votes from.
I'm a little bit more optimistic than you guys are. I think Wisconsin's going to change. I think a bunch of the Midwest schools are going to change. Wisconsin came out and said they want to play.
But it's like the principals of the schools, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it matters. I think the pressure is too great, especially for those Midwestern schools. You know Nebraska wants to play. You know Iowa wants to play. Illinois and Northwestern, iffy on. I don't think Indiana cares enough. I don't think Purdue cares enough. But you're going to get Ohio State. You're going to get Penn State probably. I don't know about Michigan. I mean, you might get Michigan and Michigan State. That's kind of on the fence too. Just with their state being able to play high school football, even though they've come out and said they didn't want to play, I think information has come out that might sway them the other way. I mean, you don't really know for sure. I think the vote might be a little bit closer than people think, but if they were smart, then they would start the season mid-October, get like a 6-7 games season in, play conference championship, play for the playoff. It's just, you have to do it if you're smart. All right, let's move on. There were some college football games played today and earlier this week and last week also. I don't think anybody cared about the games last week besides Navy getting their doors blown off by BYU. But you saw Miami beating UAB. That's not really that big, but you saw a bunch of Sunbelt teams, two Sunbelt teams upsetting two Big 12 teams, starting with Kansas State losing to Louisiana, Lafayette, and then Iowa State lost to them, and Kansas State lost to Arkansas State, and that was a big loss. What's your reactions to those losses for two Big 12 teams?
Yeah, obviously the numbers don't lie. Right now the Sun Belt is 2-0 against the Big 12, so I think maybe the Big 12 should have voted not to play this year.
Well, the Iowa State one, I mean, you kind of get the feeling every time they play a team that they're better than. They always play down in their competition. They play up and down in their competition. They always do. But today, brutal. I mean, Campbell clearly didn't have his players ready.
They played a better team. They played a better team and they lost.
That's absurd. He threw the game on purpose.
Team. Brock Purdy, who I was high on the beginning of the season. I'm completely off the bandwagon after today. What was that? That was
just like I'm completely off the Ian Book bandwagon after that horrible performance.
Well, I'll get to that in a moment because I'll get to that. But listen, that was an embarrassing performance from Iowa State. I thought they would play close and win, like they usually do in those games. Like they had a game with Northern Iowa, did that last year. But oh my gosh, that was terrible.
This isn't Northern Iowa. This is a very good Louisiana team. Team that would finish. This Louisiana team would finish mid-tier in the Big 12. That's how good. They're a very good team.
Okay, no. But Matt Campbell better watch out because he's on the hot seat now, in my opinion.
Yeah, Matt Campbell could go 1-11 5 straight years, and he wouldn't be on the hot seat there.
Well, he's on
they adore him. They adore him.
Yeah, well, that was shameful. That
he's the best coach they could get.
He's the best coach they've ever had.
Kansas State game, I thought it would be close because Kansas State is terrible. Arkansas State's been pretty good over the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's why. This also proves that the American Conference is better because Memphis beat Arkansas State last week, and by pretty handily they beat them. And then Kansas State loses to them. So just proves why the Americans better than the Big 12.
So they really, Kansas State's like one of the worst teams in the conference. So
That's not true.
maybe the worst team.
They went 8-5 last year. They're a very good team.
Yeah, well, that's terrible. And I'll tell you this, they really blew that game. I thought they had it after they kicked the field goal, and then their defense just completely collapses like a typical Big 12 defense.
Well, their defensive coordinator went to Michigan State after last year. They lost their coordinator. It's going to be tough to replace.
Oh, yeah, because I'm sure they were playing a lot of defense last year, too.
Yeah, they were number one in the Big 12 in defense last year.
Okay, so Rutgers could be number one in the Big 12 in defense.
That's not true.
Chris,
It's true.
according to the coacheshotseat.com rankings, remember Matt Campbell? He's below Ryan Day. Ryan Day's 100. Matt Campbell's
Nick Saban's higher. Nick Saban is an 8-4 season away from being on the hot seat.
All right, I'm going to get to the next game before we go too far off the rails here. The Duke Notre Dame game today was actually more interesting than I thought it would be, but obviously Notre Dame pulled away. And I'll tell you, I'm sure I'm going to hear the Ian Book slander. And I should be the one that hates on Notre Dame. They're rivals of my team. But I have to come up here and defend them because you guys rag on them all the time for no reason.
Rivals of your team? Are you kidding me? You play them once every 20 years. How is that a rivalry?
You guys rag on them, and they made the playoffs a couple years ago. They won 11-2 last year.
11-2. They lost to the two best teams they played.
I don't care who they played. They won 11-2.
They suck. They play no good teams.
They play a Power 5 schedule.
They barely beat Iowa State by 25.
They won. They won the game. Ian Book is a winner. He wins games. And he won another game today.
Except for against Michigan, where he loses.
Yeah,
Except
well,
the big games where it matters. He's
1-1 against Michigan.
Brian Lewerke kept the game closer than Ian Book did.
Well, actually, Brian Lewerke is 1-2 against Michigan, and Ian Book's 1-1. So Ian Book.
No, Ian Book didn't play a snap in the first game.
Doesn't matter. He was on the team.
No, he was redshirting, actually.
Well, he was still on the. No, he was not. He was their starting quarterback by like week 3 that year.
No, you're wrong.
I'm not wrong. Absolutely
No, you're
not.
wrong. Just like
That's 100% true.
just like you saying the Big 12 is better than the Sun Belt. That's wrong.
Okay, all right. That's all I have to say.
Here's my problem with Notre Dame. Is every time they get into a big bowl game, they choke and lose. Everyone hypes them up every year,
Nobody
and
cares
they're
about the bowl
always
game.
they're always too slow. No one cares about the BCS national championship.
They didn't get. Well, that's different.
No one cares about the semifinal game.
Well, yeah, they played Clemson.
Okay,
Nobody expected them to win that game. My point
they
is,
lost. Okay, that's not even the point. They lost 30-3. It wasn't even close. They couldn't score.
Luke, I want you to answer me this question: does Notre Dame have the talent level that Alabama and Clemson have?
No,
Let's
Okay.
go.
And they still win all these games and do well.
that's my problem with Notre Dame. Is they don't get even close to the talent. They don't play anybody. Half their wins are just handed to them. They pay for them, and
No,
then everyone
they
says
don't. That's
everyone
not true.
kisses their ass and says how great they are.
They literally play an ACC schedule.
No, they literally don't.
Yes, they do.
No.
This year,
They
yeah.
play an ACC schedule every year. And the ACC's trash. I'll agree with that.
They
They won
listen.
11-2 last year, and they went playoff the year before. You gotta give them credit.
Let's see. Who did they beat last year? Okay, so they play USC every year. They play Stanford every year. Those two teams are garbage every year.
USC was good last year.
Yeah, that's why Iowa blew the doors off them. No, they
Iowa was
suck.
an 18.
USC is an atrocious team, and they would have sucked this year too.
No, they wouldn't have.
Stanford
Well, they
went like
played Navy
5-7
every
last year.
That's probably their best game every year is to get to play Navy.
They played it. That's true. They played a Georgia team who had no offense last year and lost. So there you go. And then they played 5 ACC cupcakes last year. Give me a break.
They played in Athens. Wasn't that game in Athens? That game was in Athens.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
They played them at home and they lost too. Doesn't matter where they play them.
This is a top 6 Georgia team, and you're going to rag on them, Notre Dame, for barely losing to them on the road?
Yeah.
Chris, the problem is people say everybody says they're a top tier program, but really they're a second tier program.
They're not
They
even a
play
second tier program. They are not even a second tier
And they
program.
lost.
They're a third tier program.
Because
They're
they're overhyped.
There are plenty of programs that people talk about as big-time programs that have made the playoffs.
Notre Dame's a lot closer
But
to
they shouldn't
Michigan
have made the
State
playoff.
than
If
they are.
were in the they
Alabama.
played a full ACC schedule or full any other conference schedule, they would not have been in the playoff because they would have had at least 2 losses.
No, they would have had to play in the conference. Look, they went undefeated playing an ACC schedule.
They didn't. They played 5 ACC games. That's
not
ACC
true.
schedule.
They play 5 ACC games every year. What are you talking about?
You know what we're going to do right now? We're going to go through and look at 2018 Notre Dame schedule, and we're going to look at
They
all
play
these
5
great
ACC teams. They play the 2 Pac-12 teams and Navy.
We're going to look at these great teams that they beat. They beat a top 10 Michigan team.
What?
Okay, give me a break.
A top 10 Michigan team.
Are you talking about last year or the year before?
Year before.
Okay.
They won at Virginia Tech. They were good. Very good team.
No. Virginia
Yeah,
Tech has gone
Stanford.
down the toilet. You kidding
They had to
me?
beat Stanford when they were ranked in the top
Yeah,
10.
you know, you
They had
can't pull that.
Syracuse
Stanford
when
went
they were
6 and
ranked
6
top
that
12.
year. Stanford went 6 and 6, so you can't pull that.
Syracuse when they were ranked in top 12. They had to beat Northwestern, who made the Big Ten championship that year.
Oh,
How
yeah.
about in 2017 when they lost to Miami 41-8?
I'm talking about the Ian Book era. You're going
Okay.
farther back.
Ian Book era, who Ian Book hasn't beaten a good team in his life. You kidding me?
Well, you beat. No, that's just it's
Top
not-
10
When they
Stanford
lost
team that ended up
30-3
going
to a
6
team
and
that
6.
they're supposed to be at the same
Congratulations.
level as.
They're not supposed to be at the same level. I'm not arguing they're Alabama or Clemson. I'm saying they're the tier 1 programs like Clemson, Alabama, and then there's like 1A with Georgia and a
No.
couple other teams.
No,
and they
no,
are
no,
right
no,
there
no, no,
with
no.
them.
Here's my problem with
No,
Notre
they're
Dame.
not.
Notre
They
Dame
are.
just doesn't get the talent. They don't have enough talent every year.
Okay, but they still
Not
win
even
games
close
because
to
they're
enough
well coached and
talent.
They have a good quarterback.
No, they win games because they
Okay.
don't play any good competition.
Jake, I'll
They're
take Jake
well coached
Fromm
and
over him
good
any day.
quarterback. That's why
Give me
I win
Jake
games.
Fromm over him any day. You kidding me?
No.
At least I know Jake Fromm will make big throws.
Winner.
Okay, then the freaking App
Chris,
State quarterback's a winner because he
Chris,
wins every
that same-
game. How about that?
Chris, that same team you were talking about played, ready for these games? Florida State, who was
Okay.
god-awful that year. That was the first time they didn't make a bowl game in, 25 years or something like that?
Yep.
This is the team that made the playoff?
Yeah.
All right.
Syracuse.
Yeah, they were ranked in the top 12.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Syracuse, Dungy didn't play.
That was their best team.
Chris,
The
Dungy
best
didn't
team
play
they
that
played was
game.
Syracuse.
They had no quarterback. That was an easy win.
Michigan.
Huh?
No, Michigan was not the best team they played.
They played Michigan dominated them. Michigan dominated them, and the only reason why they won is because Michigan kept turning the ball over.
Navy, Pitt. So they had 6 wins from Ball State, Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, Pitt, Navy, Florida State. That's 6 wins. That's bowl eligible. That's
Okay.
a shame.
And they won the rest of their games. They made the playoff.
And the rest of the games were Michigan, who chokes in big games every year.
They were
Stanford, I'll give them that. That's a decent win. Stanford, Virginia Tech, who was god awful.
They were ranked
Northwestern,
when they played them. They were
okay.
ranked.
Doesn't matter if they're ranked when they played them.
That doesn't matter. My God, that means
It does.
nothing.
Okay, well then that was a great win. That was a great win against Iowa
You're
State.
either a good team or you're not a good team. The ranking doesn't mean crap.
Yeah, the rankings mean a lot to me. I love the rankings.
You know, Stanford was,
You love the
what were
rankings
they
when
ranked
work
number
in your
10?
favor and you can use them in your favor.
Stanford was ranked number 10, and they proceeded to go 6 and 6.
Right.
So,
Yeah, but when it gets to the end of the year, if Michigan beats, let's say, Northwestern at the beginning of the year when Northwestern isn't ranked, and Northwestern sneaks into the top 25, Chris will be like, "Oh, Michigan beat Northwestern. That's a top 25 school."
Did I just hear Mike say Notre Dame's going 6 and 6?
no, I said the Stanford team they beat went 6 and 6 that year.
Oh, okay.
No, my problem with Notre Dame is last year they had some weapons. They have no weapons this year. Their offense is toast. They're
Well,
expecting
They haven't lost the game all season.
they're expecting Bennett Skoranek to be their number 1 wide receiver. Are you kidding me?
Mike, have you seen their schedule?
Give me a break.
Who are they going to lose to?
Clemson twice.
Yeah.
No, they're
Yeah,
not going to
okay.
face them. They're going to lose to
Twice
Pittsburgh. I'm taking Pittsburgh to be in 2.
If they split with Clemson, they're making the playoff.
They're not going to because they don't have enough talent.
Yeah, that's an argument. I agree with you. All I'm trying to say is if that happens, they make the playoff.
Okay, freaking if Rutgers goes 10-0, they make the playoff. We're just making stupid
Yeah.
hypotheticals here. Like, come on.
I ain't hypotheticals because they're a top 10 team in playoff contention.
No, they're not.
So you lose.
They're not a top 10
Okay,
team.
they'll-
That is ridiculous.
They'll lose to North Carolina. They'll lose to Boston College. They'll lose to Clemson.
All right.
That's 3.
Do they
They'll
play
lose
North
to Georgia
Carolina?
Tech, Pitt, Louisville, Florida State. So, yeah, that's 1-11, Chris.
I don't
All
like
right.
their offense. I just don't like it. They're going to
Yeah, they
struggle
play at
offensively.
I like their offense because they have a winner.
They don't have Chase Claypool. All they did was throw it up to him every time and make
They
every
have
catch.
Bennett.
Yeah, they have Bennett, and he's.
Chris,
My
Chris.
God.
let's just say your choice of quarterbacks historically has not been good. Of course,
No, it's on winners. I choose winners.
Yeah, 6-6,
Yeah.
Kelly Bryant. Yep,
yeah.
6-6, Jared Stidham.
Shea Patterson, when he came into Michigan, he was the God. He was God. He was Jesus. He was coming to save the program.
Shea Patterson, he couldn't even make a training camp.
Who was the guy? I said James Daniels was going to be my guy this year, but they.
You
Yeah,
called
the
that
Pac-12
Arizona
wasn't
State
playing for
guy
5
won the
years.
Heisman a couple years ago.
Who?
You called was it James Daniels? You called that was going to win the Heisman his junior year.
Yeah,
He was
this,
a junior.
this would have been his sophomore year. This year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He'll win it
no.
next year.
Anyways, Notre Dame's not a good team. They'll probably go 8-2
Okay,
because
you
their
can't
schedule's
tell me
not
they're
good.
not a good team.
No, they're just not good. If they played in the Big Ten, they go 5-5. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with
All right,
ourselves.
can we move on?
Put them in the
please,
Big
to get
Ten
our way?
East. Put them in the Big Ten East. They lose to Penn State. They lose to Ohio State. They lose to Michigan. That's 3 losses. They get Wisconsin in the other division games. They lose to them. Who else would they play and lose
They'd
to?
lose to Purdue because that's a rivalry game.
Yeah, they would lose to Purdue. They would lose to Indiana. I really like Tom Allen's team.
I can't argue with that one.
Northwestern because they have Mason Ramsey, or the hell his name is? Peyton Ramsey.
Mason Rudolph?
Listen, they just don't have enough speed. They don't have enough talent. They have good
Well,
defense.
they're 1-0.
Defense doesn't win everything.
They have not lost the game all season.
Yeah, and Michigan State hasn't lost the game either.
Who's Notre Dame play next week? Let's see. Who will they beat next week?
I think they play USF, I want to
Wake
say.
Forest or something like that. Or USF. USF.
Oh, that's a tough game.
Yeah, USF. Charlie Strong's going to bring his team in
Charlie
there.
Strong is their coach.
Yep. That's going to be a tough game.
right.
Quentin Flowers ain't walking through that door for USF. All right, let's go to conference championship picks for the conferences that are playing. We'll start with the ACC. Who do you have winning the ACC?
Clemson.
Thank you. Thanks for the great insight.
Yeah, I think I'm going to roll with Clemson here. Now, I did say Notre Dame if they split, they get in, but I just think Clemson beats them twice, and that's the end of that.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to
Insights we give.
– oh, Jesus. Georgia Tech just had their second field goal blocked. Unbelievable. Anyways, Clemson for sure, but I think Pittsburgh sneaks into the ACC championship game. I really like Pittsburgh a lot. I think they're just better than Notre Dame. They're a better team. Starting with the coach, I don't even have to explain the reason why
How in the
Narduzzi's
world
better.
are you going to say this on something that's going to be published online, that Pittsburgh is a better team than Notre Dame?
They are. Listen, these two teams played last year. Notre Dame barely beat them, and Notre Dame lost their top 3 weapons.
Who won last year? I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, Notre Dame won by like a point or 2.
No.
Barely won.
They won.
Doesn't matter.
Notre Dame is like, Notre Dame is there, the Seahawks of
If that,
college football.
yeah, they're the Seahawks because they choke in every big game. Is that why?
No, they're the Seahawks because they have no talent and all they have is the quarterback and the coach.
You're comparing
They never
Ian
win
Book to
anything.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Ian Book is better than Russell Wilson. That's right.
Well, I'll compare Kenny Pickett to Patrick Mahomes because that would be the great comparison. Kenny Pickett's a great quarterback. He's got some great weapons on the outside. They are putting it on Austin, PA right now.
Mike, actually, out of the teams playing, because I originally had Ian Book 4th in my college football quarterback rankings. So out of the teams playing, he's actually the second best quarterback in the country.
I don't have Ian Book in my top 20. Are you kidding me? He just
Well, he's the
misses
second
too
best
many
quarterback
throws.
in
He's
the
like Dak Prescott. He cannot throw a football. The dude cannot throw a
Well,
football. He airmails
he's a winner.
so many wide receivers.
He's a winner. He wins games.
I don't care. I really don't care. When you play North Carolina and Wake Forest, you win those games easily. Put Michigan State in the ACC, we got 5 ACC championships in the last 10 years. I mean, come on.
Okay,
Give me
no,
a freaking break.
Get wiped by Clemson.
No, not this part of the century, but the early part, or not this part of the decade, the early part of the 2010s, for sure. Easily win a couple.
You get wiped by
ACC is a joke. The ACC is a joke. They play nobody. And the teams they play from the Pac-12 are down.
That's what would happen. Jameis Winston.
Chris, have you noticed every time Stanford has a good team, Notre Dame loses to them? And every time Stanford sucks, they beat them. Every time.
They played them 2 years ago.
What?
They were ranked number 7 when they played them a couple years ago.
Yeah, and they proceeded to go 6-6.
Well, all I care about is what they were ranked when the game was played.
I don't. I care about what they are when you finish the season.
All right. That's nice, huh? All right, did you pick Clemson?
Yes, I'm picking Clemson, although I think Pitt might give them a run for their money in the ACC championship.
Yeah, all right.
I think if Pitt goes 8-2, gets into the big ACC championship, I think they got a chance to make the playoff.
Okay, all right.
All right, next conference, American Athletic.
Okay, no. Let's go. Big 12. Come on now.
All right, Luke, American Athletic, who you got?
No, I'm taking Cincinnati because the Luke Fickle effect, but also I think they could make it. They might be my sneaky pick to make the CFP this year.
Oh yeah, okay, Desmond.
Oh, I really like what Memphis did. Being Arkansas State, who then by the transitive property, Memphis is better than Kansas State. So they're already better than a mid-tier Big 12 team. And I think that's about right for them. I think they're a mid-tier Big 12 team. Cincinnati's very good. I think it'll come down to those two teams again. Give me Memphis. I'll take Memphis. Chris is probably going to take Tulane. That's going to be his pick because he refuses to pick. I'll give him Tulane.
All right.
Actually, I'll pick UConn.
Do you see this? I don't think they're in the American. All right. Well, did you see this? That the full 14 Big Ten chancellors and presidents will meet tomorrow and are expected to vote on return to play.
I told you.
That's late news.
Are they? Oh, never mind. I thought you said they were going to vote to return to play.
Yes, I said. So
vote on. Well, Luke, I'm going to be honest with you. You might have the worst sources of anybody I've ever seen. Every time you report stuff, it is wrong every single time. Probably the worst example was Luke reporting that Xavier Tillman would return, and then he didn't. And
I reported Biden choosing Tom Leva 3 months before it happened.
And Luke, the funny part.
How about when I reported Joe Burrow winning Heisman?
Well, that was more of a shot in the dark type of thing, but
no, it was a report. I had sources.
No, the funny thing about Dick Vitale saying that he thinks Tillman would return. Apparently, Tillman was leaning to return, and then after Dick Vitale said that, he reconsidered and then went to the draft. Another reason to hate Dick Vitale. I can't stand that guy, and that's a reason why. I think he's a decent announcer, but I think he just pisses me off when he says stuff. All right, next conference, Conference USA.
Come on. It's a big
Conference USA. And I have to go with UAB. I think they're the best team in the conference.
I'm going to go with FAU. I really like Willie Taggart. He's coming in fresh. He's got some talent in there from the Lane Kiffin era. I'll take not UAB. I'll take FAU.
My sneak pick, though, is North Texas.
Yeah, I'm going to go with USM.
Fair. That's a fair pick.
Southern Miss?
Didn't they lose to somebody bad, though?
Yeah. Well, actually, Southern Miss should make the playoff every year because they have to play. They play the hardest schedule in the country every year because they just play every good SEC team.
No.
So that's Mercer and the Citadel.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Southern Miss gets their share.
All right. We don't usually talk about the Sun Belt on this conference, but I feel like they've earned the respect of our podcast. We have to talk. Who's going to win the Sun Belt this year?
Well, my cousin goes to Appalachian State, so I'm going to have to go with Appalachian State.
Chris?
Arkansas State.
It's going to be an interesting race for sure. App State struggled with Charlotte today, beating them like 35-20. I like Louisiana a lot. I like their coach. They're kind of like they run a Cincinnati type offense, ground and pound. They're not like Heath and Jim Harbaugh run and gun. It's ground and pound, and and they have a stout defense, and they won the line of scrimmage today. Now, whether that's because they're more talented or because Iowa State just didn't want to be there, I don't know. But I think Louisiana's a very good team, so I'm going to take Louisiana to win the Sun Belt. All right, let's go with the SEC.
This is my surprise pick of the year. I know you guys go first because the anticipation is.
I'll take Alabama.
Chris going with the safe pick. Okay. It's going to be a fun year for sure. It's a very good conference this year. A lot of expectations for especially the SEC West teams. Alabama, of course. Auburn, who I think might struggle this year. LSU, who's got basically nobody returning, but the talent's there. And Texas A&M, expectations through the roof this year. From the West, I'll take Alabama. That's pretty simple. I mean, I think LSU is going to be better than people think. I think they'll be the second best team in the West. But I think Alabama will win. In the East, as far as I'm concerned, it's a two-team race. Florida and Georgia. I think Georgia's more talented at every position, including the quarterback position. I'll take Georgia. And I'll take Georgia to beat Alabama in the SEC championship game.
Looking at the betting odds here, Alabama is minus 145 to win the conference championship. Georgia's at plus 210. Those two are the obvious favorites. But I'm going to have to go with this is the shock pick. I'm going to have to go with Texas A&M.
I like it.
I think they have a favorable. Obviously, they were all excited about their schedule coming into this year, but now coronavirus is still that. But they get Alabama and Florida early. They catch them early. They can catch them before they can really get going. Vanderbilt's their first game. So I think they'll start 3-0, and they have Mississippi State, Arkansas, South Carolina, Tennessee, Ole Miss, which should all be easy wins. But then they get LSU at home, and then they end with Auburn on the road. So I think Auburn will be their toughest game. I'm going with Texas A&M. They're plus 1,400 to win the conference.
I think Texas A&M would compete in pretty much every other conference. I don't think they have the top-level talent that these other teams have just yet. Recruiting hasn't quite been as high for them as it is for other teams.
I think they're going to finish second, Luke. I'm right there with you. I can't support that pick. I think they'll finish second in the West.
Yeah, I like them this year.
Their
I
offense.
can't believe we're jumping on Texas A&M with Chris.
Their offense struggled a lot last year. I don't see it. I think they could easily finish fourth if they're not careful in the West this year. All right, the final conference is the Big 12.
What about the Independents?
Who's that? BYU and Army?
Well, in Utah now, right?
Is Utah playing?
They're not playing. Big 12. I'm going to go with Iowa State. I can't believe I'm saying it. I'm going with Iowa State.
Yeah, that's all I think.
Yeah.
I like Oklahoma State a lot. I think they're going to win this conference. They don't have as much talent as Oklahoma, but they are easily good enough to split with this team. They can lose the game in the regular season and win the conference championship and be in a good spot to make a run. I really like it. They get Texas at home. They get Iowa State at home. This is a really good team with a lot of production returning. I'll take Oklahoma State.
Well, here's one thing you do know. TCU will be motivated for every game. They got a great motivator as for their head coach. He really gets into them, but, they can really take it. But, yeah, I think people are picking TCU to finish high this year, which, TCU's got talent. They recruited pretty well. And the Big 12 is a very interesting race. In my opinion, you got 3 teams for 2 spots in that championship game. You got Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Texas. And Baylor's kind of iffy. Iowa State's with Baylor in that kind of iffy category. But right now, I think you got to put Oklahoma in there. And I'm going to put Oklahoma State in there for now. I think they're a little bit better than Texas. Texas has the quarterback we know, very good quarterback, Ellinger, who's there for his 20th year. But a healthy Spencer Sanders can run the ball. They got Chuba back. They got Tylan Wallace back. Their offense is going to be explosive. So, yeah. And in the championship, I'm going to take Oklahoma because Mike Gundy cannot beat Oklahoma to save his life. All right. Do you guys want to make like a Heisman pick or something? Early Heisman pick?
I don't know. I don't have a guy like Joe Burrow.
Miles Brennan? Luke can't pick Miles Brennan because if Miles Brennan wins it, then it's a system. It's not Burrow. It's the system.
Right. I don't think Justin Fields is going to throw an interception this year, so that's going to be a positive thing. How about I'll go with Sam Ellinger? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to change my Big 12 pick to Texas, and Sam Ellinger is my this is my hot take for this year. I think they're going to SEC. Texas win the Big 12. Sam Ellinger is going to win the Heisman, and then they're going to play each other in the CFP. Big rivalry game. First half in the CFP. That's my hot take this year.
Okay, Lawrence is probably going to win it, but if I had to make another pick, I'm going to go with Spencer Sanders. Got a lot of talent around him.
No.
He can run the ball.
0% chance he wins it. If a team from Oklahoma, the player from Oklahoma State's going to win it, it's going to be Chuba.
No, here's the quarterback. I like Spencer Sanders.
No, they're going to split votes. Him and Chuba are going to split votes if they even are in the conversation.
I think Sanders wins it. Okay, no, Lawrence is going to win it, but Sanders is my other guy.
Well, I think the Heisman's going to come out of the SEC this year. Listen, you got to look at
KJ Costello.
I was thinking about him. Yeah, maybe. I mean,
or Kyle Trask, maybe.
No, 0% chance he wins it. I looked at a guy like maybe Jamie Newman because of the new system they're running, but he's not there.
JT.
I like him. I do like JT Daniels. Is he going to be 100% healthy for the first game? That's my question. It seems to me that he is. He's got a good chance to win it for sure.
Mike, what about Kellen Mond?
No.
How about Taysom?
I don't think Kellen Mond has enough talent around him to win it against these SEC
How about
defenses.
Taysom?
Who?
Taysom Martell. Tate Martell for Miami. He's going to win the starting job and go win the Heisman.
Tate Martell, who didn't even suit up on Thursday.
Just saving him for future games.
I'm going to go. This is kind of out on a limb. I think it's. I mean, the betting favorite's definitely Trevor Lawrence, but the guy from out. Not Blake Sims. Who's the guy's name? The quarterback. What's his name?
For Alabama,
Yeah.
Bryce Young, Mac Jones.
Yes, Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones will start the year, but I think Bryce Young will end the year. And I think Bryce Young has a shot if he comes in early enough in the year because he's got all that talent around him. I think he's got a good shot to win it. But, I mean, Lawrence is the easy pick here. If the Big Ten was included, I'd give it to Justin Fields right now. I wouldn't even have the season. I'd just give it to him right now.
When was the last time the Heisman favorite going into the year won the Heisman?
It almost never happens.
It doesn't happen because they place so high expectations on them. So even when they meet the expectations, it's not like, oh, that's a Heisman level season.
It's a fair point. I think Ohio State just has that much talent, it doesn't even matter.
All right, but I'm telling you, Sam Allen's going to win the Heisman. He's going to win. Texas will win the Big 12. Texas A&M will win the SEC, and they'll meet in the conference or in the CFP.
All right, let's go to the playoff picks. Who do you guys have making the playoff?
Well, I guess I boxed myself in now, right? Texas A&M and Texas. This isn't going to be in order. Texas A&M, Texas, and then Clemson, and then this is assuming the Big Ten doesn't come back and play. And no, screw it. The Big Ten's going to come back and play, and Ohio State's going to make it.
Well,
All right, I'm going to go without the Big Ten here. And Clemson and
Well, we can't change it later down the road if they come back.
All right, Clemson and Alabama. And then I'll go with Florida. And this last spot's tough, but I think to give it to Oklahoma State, despite being in the Big 12, over a two-loss SEC team.
Yes. I'm going to go with Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, and Oklahoma. Pretty easy, simple college football playoff right there. If Luke's going to include the Big Ten, I might as well include all-time teams. The all-time Alabama team's going to make the playoff. Might as well put the 1990 Georgia Tech team. They're going to make the playoff as well. 1993 Colorado. Anyways. Any other thing we should talk about here? Talk about how Florida State's playing well, up 10-0 on Georgia Tech right now. Great Georgia Tech team.
Yeah, great Florida State team that Notre Dame beat a couple of years ago.
No, listen, I like Florida State. I do. I think
2017.
Florida State could be a sleeper team this year. Watch out for them.
Yeah, sleeper playoff team. I agree.
Yeah. Sleeper playoff team. Watch out for Louisiana.
UNC has a better shot to make the playoff than Notre Dame does.
No, I don't like UNC at all. I think they're the most overrated team in the country, to be honest with you.
Oh, they're good. They're good.
No,
I think they're good. I think they're overrated.
Yeah, they're very
They're
overrated.
Top 20, top 15.
Anyway, let's cross our fingers. If the vote comes through and the Big Ten is playing, we'll have another podcast. We'll discuss it. We'll discuss what that means for the Big Ten and for college football. But until next time, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week, hopefully.